this video, I want to talk about Mercury and how it is linked to our mindset. Because so many of you, when I read your comments and I see how people are interested and want to know more about their own natal charts, there's a strong tendency for each of us to think in a certain way and to get stuck in thought patterns and ways of viewing the world. And so many of us want to change. We want to change the way we are. And the only way we can begin to change the way we are is to become aware of our thought patterns and how we think. In astrology, Mercury is the planet which most indicates our mindset. Do we have a positive mindset and wake up every day with the cup half full, wanting to take on the world? Or do we have a natural negative mindset where we are anxious or fearful about the future and are uncertain in making our way through this world? Now, astrology is very helpful in understanding our mindset, our makeup, most of all through the way that we understand the energy of Mercury. In the zodiac, of all the planets that are affecting us, especially the personal planets, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Mercury is the most gender neutral. And Mercury will take on the qualities of the planet that it is closest to, or of the planet whose sign it's in. So let me explain that. Let us say you have Mercury in Aries. Mars is the planet that rules the sign of Aries. So your Mercury in Aries will take on somewhat of a Mars-like quality. And what does Mercury rule? It not only rules our mindset, but how we communicate, how we share information, how we respond to information. So let's go through all the signs that Mercury would be in and look at those planets. If Mercury was in Taurus, it would take on the qualities of Venus, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And likewise, if Mercury was in Libra, because Venus also rules Libra. So if you have a Mercury in the sign of Taurus or the sign of Libra, it's going to take on somewhat of a Venus-like quality, conciliatory, wanting harmony. If it's in Taurus, which is a fixed sign, there's going to be a tendency towards having fixed ideas and being able to have staying power and have a mindset where you can endure and you go on day after day. When does that become negative? And when is it an asset? Only you will know by looking at your chart deeper and understanding it. If your Mercury is in Libra, ruled by the planet Venus, it's an air sign. There's going to be a tendency towards intellectualizing things and towards socialization, communication, to share, to bring balance, to bring understanding, with a tendency to go into the mind. And Libra is a cardinal sign, so there's going to be initiating energy. Are you the first person to respond in a conversation? Are you the one to initiate action? And do you tend to override your feelings by first letting the mind dictate what is being said? So there are so many subtleties here. What if you have Mercury in Gemini or Virgo? Then Mercury is in its rulership. It's strong because no planet is ruling that Mercury. If it's in Gemini, it's an air sign, and there's a tendency towards fast communication, a lot of communication, towards information gathering. If that Mercury is in Virgo, the other sign where it's in its rulership, so it's not ruled by any other planet, Virgo is a more passive sign. It's an earth sign. There's going to be a receptive communication where you will first receive usually information from another. And people with Mercury in an earth sign, they can tend to hold on to information. This can be a positive. There can be a constancy. But it can turn into a negative if one is holding on to information that is affecting you in a negative way, and there's an inability to let it go, because earth signs tend to be retentive. The other challenge with people who have Mercury in either Gemini or Virgo is that, especially if that Mercury is in the 3rd house, sometimes in the 12th house, or if it's linked in any aspect to the planet Saturn, there can tend to be a great seriousness to the thinking, or sometimes even anxiety, especially, let's say, Mercury is hooking up with Uranus, that planet which is bringing lightning, quick energy and vibration. Because Mercury is working so strongly, being in a sign that it rules, there can be this tendency to anticipate the future, what is coming next. The mind is working so fast and over time that many people with Mercury in Gemini or Virgo can have a tendency to have too much intensive thought, which may lead to anxiety if it's not properly managed. If you have Mercury in Cancer, it is ruled by the moon, and Cancer is a water sign. It is receptive. So water is emotional, and there can be a tendency towards emotional communication or an emotive response to everything, whether that response is appropriate or not. So if you have Mercury in Cancer, you may need to watch that your feelings are not guiding every single form of communication, which can be exhausting. If Mercury is in Leo, it is ruled by the Sun. The Sun, this beautiful planet at the center of our system, which is the boss, is the king, is the leader. Fiery, so inspirational communication. And with Mercury ruled by the Sun, there may be a tendency to see things from one's own perspective only, and a real need to learn how to listen and how to receive the communication of others. Fire signs are initiating, they are inspirational, they are going outwards, and we really have to be aware that sometimes a balance would be needed, especially because Leo is a fixed sign. There can also be a tendency for Mercury in Leo people to get stuck in their ways. What if you have Mercury in Scorpio or Aries? We raised Aries. Both Aries and Scorpio Mercuries are ruled by Mars. So there's a tendency for that strong energy of Mars to manifest. In Aries, the communication is going to be quick. It's going to be at times possibly aggressive or maybe assertive, and it's going to be initiating. Me first, I need to speak more than I need to listen. So there will be a gift if people with Mercury in Aries can learn how to listen and develop a receptivity to their communication. Also using the talents that they have. They can inspire. Aries is a fire sign. The Scorpio aspect is when Mars pulls the energy inwards. So there can be a real ability to concentrate and to focus for people with Mercury in Scorpio. Also a tendency because of the water element, and it's fixed water. So think of ice. There can be a tendency to solidify and to keep the emotions very firmly frozen inside, especially after a trauma. So people with Mercury in Scorpio, ruled by Mars, may need to learn to release more, to share more, and to ease up a little bit on that fixed or frozen emotional strength. It's like a barrier that one may put up, but great talents to investigate, to go deeply into matters. What about those of you who have Mercury in Sagittarius or Pisces? Your mindset is ruled by Jupiter, and this is an expansive planet. Jupiter is big. Let's go big. Let's have big ideas. Let's have abundant ideas. And with Sagittarius, the Mercury can sometimes forget about the details, because Mercury is our ordinary, logical thinking mind. And when it ends up in a place like Sagittarius or even Pisces, ruled by this very large planet Jupiter, our mindset may be so creative, so out of the box, and think so big that we forget about the day-to-day details, the practical things, to dot our I's and cross our T's, to get everything in an ABC order. And that may be something that Mercury in Sagittarius people have to work on. For Mercury in Pisces, the more chaotic part of thinking may come from an emotional, over-emotional reaction, because Pisces is a water sign. And when it's in the realm of Jupiter in this watery sign, Mercury in Pisces can be very sensitive, very creative, but also may need to work hard to hold on to those details that keep ordinary everyday life functioning smoothly. And finally, if you have Mercury in a sign ruled by Saturn, which is Mercury in Capricorn or Mercury in Aquarius, you're going to most likely have a serious mindset. A mindset that is able to strategize, able to plan. And this is a great asset in this modern world, which requires so much strategizing, so much communication, so much regular checking of email, and all the things that our lives entail. The tendency, though, is that there is an inability to relax the mindset or to let go, because Saturn is always keeping a very tight control on the thought patterns, on the way things should be, very organized, and so on. So those of you with Mercury in Capricorn or Aquarius, You may need to learn how to relax the mindset through meditation, through music, through things that free it from the bounds of Saturn. Mercury in Capricorn is an earth sign, so there's a groundedness and there is also a receptivity, good listeners and able to listen in conversation. Aquarius, an air sign, very big ideas, good ideas, a tendency to think around humanitarian concerns, to think how will this benefit the group. That is one of the greatest strengths of Mercury in Aquarius, and how to use that strength, how to use your ideas and actually get them into manifestation would be one of the challenges for Mercury in Aquarius. With all of these placements of Mercury, we begin to see just how gender fluid Mercury is. It takes on the quality of that planet that is ruling the sign it's in. And because of this, there is great hope that we can change our mindset if we are conscious enough and if we are understanding the way our mind works. Neuroscience has shown the plasticity of the mind. We know that after trauma, the mind is able to adapt and to regrow and to reframe scenarios so that they go from being very, very challenging to being something that we can accept and assimilate. As human beings, we are doing this all the time. When we receive difficult news, we are processing it. And it is only those of us who cannot move on, who suffer from great anxiety or trauma when the mindset is fixed. So there is hope. Astrology reflects this hope that if we understand the sign, the gender, the modality of our Mercury and how it's operating, we can begin to maybe see that we have an ability to pause before we react. Receptive Mercury people can learn to be more assertive. Assertive Mercury people in communication can learn to be more receptive. And through this, we begin to channel the light of our sun, which is the true purpose of astrology. The sun is meant to be our guide, and Mercury is always the servant of the sun. We see that in the Greek myths when Hermes or Mercury is the servant of Zeus or Jupiter, and he has to be the messenger and go down to the earth and come back. And in that same way, our lower mind, Mercury, is meant to be the messenger of our greater self, which is using Mercury as a guide and as a servant to what we wish to accomplish. So next time your thoughts get control over you, remember your Mercury and know that you have the ability, through observing how it works, to possibly bring in a different way of acting and reacting to things around you. If you found anything helpful in this video, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time.